Architectural Review Commission. Welcome everyone. I'm Ted Kempton, Chair of the Commission. If you are here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation. So we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff will then present their report. We will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will ask questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioners will then discuss the case and will make their decision based on Chapter 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee comments, and the testimony given to the public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence cell phones. I'll start on my left with the introduction of commissioners.
Elena Perez Ketchum, Attorney Rep.
I'm Prokop, I practice architecture. Brian Hammond, architect.
Tim Jones, General Contractor.
Also in attendance, we have city staff support, Ron Vila, Elaine Lunn, Jared Varnum, and our in-house counsel, Dana Crosby Collier. Okay. All right, let's motion on the minutes.
Move to accept the minutes.
Second.
All right, seeing no discussion. All in favor of accepting the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Beal on staff of the Historic Preservation. Under announcement, I wanted to state that we are having our Wednesday hearing. We have a couple cases on that night to move forward. Also, we have the approvals that are in your packets. You can go through that. And if you have any comments, reach back to the office. And then we also have our public orders in your packet as well. So this month we're going to be discussing City, and under preservation and progress, Elaine Lunn is going to piggyback on the information there. So Elaine.
Thank you, Ron. Elaine, Historic Preservation staff. This month we are going to provide a presentation about Ybor City, which is currently celebrating its 140th anniversary. Do you have the presentation on your screens? Okay, I have a PowerPoint presentation for you. Are we still waiting? Yeah, we're still waiting. Okay. If we could get the PowerPoint presentation from the on the screen, thank you. That's blank.
The one that's on our screen is the one that's going to be.
Right now? It's not mine.
There we go. Okay, one, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, Ybor City is named for Vicente Martinez Ybor, who established the area as a cigar manufacturing town in 1885, along with his friend Ignacio Haya, another cigar manufacturer, and a great deal of assistance from the Tampa Board of Trade. In the mid-19th century, Cuban cigar manufacturers were faced with political unrest in Cuba, And they began establishing factories in New York, New Orleans, and Key West. The latter, Key West, became particularly popular because of its proximity to and similarity in climate to Cuba. In 1869, Vicente Ybor set the future course of the cigar industry in the United States when he began importing large quantities of Cuban tobacco into Key West and employing exiled workers to make his Havana cigars. However, he was plagued by distribution problems and labor union strikes there, so he began looking for a location in a less isolated area. Late in the spring of 1885, Ybor was visited by friends who had just been to Tampa to assess its potential as a center for the manufacture of guava paste and jelly. Although they did not find forests of guava trees in Tampa, they were both excited about Tampa's potential, and they urged Ybor to consider it as a new site for his cigar factory. At their urging, Ybor and his friend Ignacio Haya went to Tampa. Here you can see a view of Ybor City in 1885, and also one of the few existing photographs of an early building in Ybor City, which initially was used as Ybor's cigar factory. Once the factory that we all know today as the Ybor factory, the brick one, was constructed a year later, Ybor donated Ybor donated this building to the community for use as a theater, a school, general multi-purpose building. But to back up a little bit, Ybor and Haya have recognized the potential in Tampa's port and its recently completed railroad line. They recognized that the climate, which was much like Cuba's, that it would help in the production of Havana cigars, and its proximity to Havana would not greatly increase the cost of transporting the tobacco leaf. In 1885, Ybor and Haya were able to purchase land for their factories and worker housing, and they both began constructing their factories in about 60 buildings for the workers to live in. Initially, most of these buildings were boarding houses or with rentable rooms, but later on we began to see the individual houses for families. And during the spring of 1886, Ybor's factory in Key West burned, and after he was unable to buy additional land there, he decided to concentrate all of his energies on Tampa. So by the end of 1886, Ybor City was a reality. In the area from present-day 6th and 9th Avenues between 12th and 14th Streets, the Ybor and Haya cigar factories were in full operation, and several hundred worker houses were completed and occupied. On your screen now, we see on the left the image of the brick Ybor factory, which still stands today. The La Mirta Firehouse, which was the fire station for Ybor City. It's this small one-story wood frame structure there. And the two-story Gonzalez y Castillo store. And that's all along 8th Avenue that we're looking at there. The smaller photograph on the right side of the screen shows the Sanchez and Haya factory, the first building built in Ybor City for the construction of cigars, and it's on the south side of 7th Avenue there, and that's how it looked around 1890. The little wood building out front, I believe, was a watchmaker's shop. This image of the city of Tampa shows how it looked in the early 1890s. Ybor had rapidly grown. It was annexed into the city of Tampa in 1887, just within a couple of years of its founding. You can see in this image the Hillsborough River with Tampa proper on its east bank, and across the river to the west, the Tampa Bay Hotel in Hyde Park. To the north is the up-and-coming Tampa Heights subdivision, and to the northeast is the booming factory town of Ybor City. You can see the, was to become the Atlantic Coastline Railway running from Tampa proper to Ybor City, and then from there departs north. Many of the early buildings associated with the cigar industry and its workers were constructed out of wood, as they were needed to be put in place pretty quickly. These early buildings went up quickly, and here you can see the first factory that was constructed for the Tampa Box Company, operated by Henry Lehman on the left, and on the right there are some of the buildings that were along 7th Avenue, including the original Centro Español building in the foreground of that photo. Businesses such as restaurants with retail establishments, with offices and rooms for rent above, and the home of one of the early mutual aid societies, the Orden Caballero de la Luz. Unfortunately, many of these early wood buildings succumbed to fire, but that made way for the Ybor City that we still know today. The early wood structures were quickly replaced, and soon the area along the commercial core was full of these 2-story and 1- and 2-story brick buildings. The scene here, I believe, is looking from, I want to say this is 14th or 15th, but I think we're looking back to the west here. The photo on the right, of course, is the Italian Club. The mutual aid societies and social organizations were established early on for the various ethnic groups in Ybor City and have served the population for now well over 100 years. These photographs show some of the conditions in the 1930s. Ybor City's economy had begun to suffer with the Great Depression and the rising popularity of the less expensive cigarettes. Cigarette companies have been targeting soldiers in World War I, promoting their product as a comfort to help soldiers escape the hardships of war. Cigarettes were included in ration kits in World War II, a practice that continued in 1975. As cigars became less of a daily staple and the demand for them declined, factories began to cut back on production, and many of them closed. Closure of factories and the implementation of the GI Bill, an exodus from Ybor City began. Veterans were able to purchase larger homes outside of the old neighborhoods. So this is an aerial map of Ybor City in 1938. And you can see it's a very dense urban environment. You can make out the rail line that heads up to 6th Avenue on the south side of Ybor City, Cascaden Park on the north end. Interstate construction came through in the 1960s, which took out many of the original buildings underneath the footprint of the interstates. This was followed by urban renewal programs, which cleared out entire blocks that were designated as slums. And here you can see where many of the blocks were left as vacant parcels for quite a number of years, with many urban renewal projects that were proposed and never came forward. One of the early and lasting approaches to improving Ybor City in these years was the creation of the Barrio Latino Commission in 1959. The Barrio Latino Commission was initially put in place to help promote Ybor City as a tourist destination. This board was authorized to regulate architectural design in Ybor City, and the state had passed this legislature in, as I said, in 1959, but later the city adopted an ordinance reflecting the creation of the Barrio Latino Commission as well. The boundaries for the district, known as the Barrio Latino section, were stated to be Columbus Drive on the north, 4th Avenue on the south, 22nd Street on the east, and Nebraska Avenue on the west. The state and local legislation noted the area's quaint and distinctive character and limited the removal of Ybor City's noted overhanging balconies and canopies and their ironwork. During this time, this was prior to the 1966 Historic Preservation Act. So this, to be clear, the initial establishment of the Barrio Latino Commission was to improve the appearance of the neighborhood, to attract tourists, and not necessarily to follow any particular preservation standards. However, it was not until the 1970s that Ybor City was recognized as a historic district. It was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1974. Initially, just the commercial corridor. You can see the map shown here in blue, the outline of the first Ybor City Historic District. In 1975, the local historic district was established by state legislature, and notably, that's 50 years ago from this current year. The nomination report for the National Register addressed the large cigar factories, the social clubs, the mutual aid societies, and the more iconic buildings in Ybor City. Around the same time, several of these buildings, along with the district's iron balconies and 5 globe streetlights, were documented as part of the Historic American Buildings Survey, which is housed at the Library of Congress. And you can see some of those drawings at the top of your screen. The state established the local City Historic District in 1975. It provided that the Barrio Latino Commission was to serve as its architectural review board and outlined its powers and duties. This 1975 act also provided that the city of Tampa could grant the Barrio Latino Commission additional powers and duties by local ordinance. And the city of Tampa definitely did that the same year. It was later in 1986 that the initial set of design guidelines that the Barrio Latino Commission still uses today came into effect. In the 1980s, the movement to recognize many of the immigrant contributions to the development of the United States, and one of the efforts was came to pass as the establishment of the Ybor City National Historic Landmark District in 1990. This larger historic landmark district reflected residential components of Ybor City and its different populations. Locally, from 1998 through 2016, there were multiple boundary expansions of the local district, taking it further to the east, further south to Adamo Drive, and north to 21st, to be more in line with the area that the National Historic Landmark District included. 1920s, Ybor City looked northeast the gas. So that's this month's preservation progress, and for additional information about the Ybor City Historic District, you can refer to this month's news.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. That was a lot of information to take on. Moving down our agenda, legal address the board.
Yep. Good evening, Crosby Collier from the Legal Department. Would like to ask if any member has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening? Okay, and has any member engaged in? Yes.
I don't. I live on the street.
Okay,
as well.
okay, perfect. And have ex parte communication regarding any item?
No.
Okay.
We're going to need two separate motions. First two that are reflected on the agenda, which is for ARC 25-000240, and the second one is ARC 25-00339. If we could get a motion for those.
I move to grant a continuance in case ARC 25-000240 for the property located at 825 Bayshore Boulevard, Monday, November 3rd, 2020, at 5:30 PM.
And then do the second case as well.
And in ARC 25-00000339, property located at 1902 West Jutan Avenue, to the public hearing on Monday, November 3rd, 2025, at 5:30 PM.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue these two cases. Discussion, favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you. And the following motion for ARC 5-000522, that was reflected on the agenda. And then we had a last minute request for a continuation for the second item reflected on the agenda, which is ARC 25-00000280. Both of those are going to be continued to the December 1st, 2025 public hearing at 5:30 PM. And if we could get a motion for that, please.
Just one second, Crosby Collier, I just want to clarify on 522, you're only continuing review of the accessory structure. Tonight, you are going to be looking at the addition to the primary structure. That's still on the agenda. So if we could just read it as it's written on your agenda, that would make it clear.
Move to grant a continuance in case ARC 25-00000522 for the property located at 840 South Boulevard to continue review of the accessory structure addition to Monday, December 1st, 2025, public hearing at 5:30 PM. And motion to continue ARC 25-00000280, property located at 504 East Giddens Avenue. Public hearing on Monday, December 1st, 2025 at 5:30 PM.
All right, we have a motion to continue the two hearings. Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
At this time, we're ready for the swearing. If everybody that wishes to testify, including staff, please stand up, raise your right hand. Staff will swear us in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony being provided today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So the agenda item that we're going to review this evening is ARC-25-00000522. This is for the address 840 South Boulevard. This is in the Hyde Park Historic District. There's two structures on site. The primary structure is contributing, that dates back to 1913, and the accessory structure is non-contributing. The underlying zoning is RS60. The square footage is 1945. The proposed addition is 582 square foot for a total of 2527. The request moving forward is for new construction in addition to the primary structure. The accessory structure as reflected on the agenda has been continued. And I'd like to go through the photos at this time. Starting with the 1920 Sanborn map. Property in question is highlighted and circled. That does face South Boulevard that runs north and south. To the north, the cross street is Inman, and you see Boulevard to the south. This is our vicinity map. You zoom on the vicinity map, you see the structure that is shaded, which is contributing. The accessory structure is not even shown in it contributing. This is the current day aerial. Once again, Inman is the cross street to the north. The house faces South Boulevard, and you see Bayshore Boulevard. This is within FEMA's boundaries. Since the primary structure is contributing, they have some flexibility that they could add on to that building. There's some rules that go into effect, but the request in front of you this evening is not affected, and it can move forward. The accessory structure is within the Lemois FEMA boundaries, is contributing, so there's some stipulations as to if they could add on to it or not. We were not aware of that when they first made application, and going through the process, we were in discussions with the building department, and that's why that portion of this request has been tabled, so we get further documentation how to move forward. Primary elevation, which faces South Boulevard, 840. See a little bit of the primary elevation, and then the south elevation. To the south, you have a contributing structure. Moving back to the primary structure. Apologize for the pictures. It was in the morning and it was in shadow. Looking down the porte-cochere. Traditional porte-cochere with the details and the materials. Continuing past the gate on the porte-cochere where the drive aisle is, and moving towards the accessory structure. I just wanted to show this. It is a CMU building. It was built after the period of significance, and that's why it's non-contributing. Looking back from the accessory structure back towards the primary street, which is South Boulevard. And then to conclude with a couple photos, the historic part of the house is here. You see the addition. When they did the accessory structure, they probably did this addition as well. It's CMU with a flat roof. And just another shot of that addition that was done some time ago. That concludes the photo presentation. At this time, the agent will address the board. I think it's up already.
I can see it on there. Where's it at?
I see it up there.
Oh, okay. Here we are on the clicker. All right, guys. Tyler Thibodeau, Onyx Construction. I was hired by the owners, Kingdom Vacation Rentals, for the addition here at 840 South Boulevard. Rolling through.
All right, now we can on our screen now.
It was turned off. I did. Let me grab that. 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Since they're having some problems with the video, applicants are trying to bring a paper back and head that way.
So this is a survey here. Existing South Boulevard is this street over here. This is our structure. Our addition is going to take place over this existing one on the rear. Let me see if I got a pen to point with. Appreciate it. Thank you. Our addition is going to take place over existing portion on the rear. Everything else back here is going to remain the same. 1-story garage, AC unit's going to stay in the same place. Driveway, everything's going to remain untouched through here. Tree is going to stay in the same location. You guys like to see wall section next or elevations?
You can do site plan elevations, architectural details, wall
Site
section.
plans, elevations, okay. Site plan was there. here we have the
And then can you
existing,
zoom out so we can see them both at the same time? That'd be helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
this side over here is existing. It shows the CMU portion. Back here, really, nothing changes till we get over here to the proposed portion. You can see the addition peeking out in similar retrospect to the addition over here. That was done some time ago. From the side elevation, we have this line here as kind of the delineation line between, you know, the historic aspect of it and the additions back here. Once again, this one's already existing. This second story addition is the proposed one. And we'll have to tie in through this roof coming back through here. On the north elevation, kind of same thing, mirrored. We are taking away, we're encompassing this dormer on the back with this addition, and matching it up with overhangs, similar to what's already there, matching all that. And this is actually coming out over the existing addition down here. And we're going to break this column at the existing addition to blend a little bit what it is now, and stucco everything up top to match. Wall section here. This bottom portion is, it's thing. The only thing we're going to do to it is add the brick veneer on the front to help it blend in with current guidelines. New construction is starting up top here with the pre-engineered truss. We have some 2x and 1x kind of strategically placed in here as stucco expansion, similar to what was done on the existing house. The soffits are going to match to what's already there. It's beadboard on the underside. They are a quite large soffit. I want to say they're 3 feet, 40 inches, somewhere in there. And we're going to match the exposed rafter tails, what's already there as well. With the details here, existing windows are going to remain. On the newer addition here, we're going to go with a Anderson full wood window. They do come in a 9 light as to what's existing on there. We can get the, that's just glass top as a 9 light to match what's already there. These are all the specs for these windows. A couple pictures of the existing conditions. You can see the 9 light windows here. They're all going to remain. The wood ones are going to match these. Open on the bottom, 9 light on top.
Can you zoom out? I'm trying to figure out where that, you're just pointing
Sorry.
to. Yeah. North, okay.
This is the brick veneer that the architect has spec'd for this project here, I'm sorry. It's got all the details with it if we want to know. As far as those go. Comes in a full brick as well. If we need to do a full brick, we can get the veneer corners, the thin brick corners, we can get everything. And that's the color that they believe matches. The beadboard here is that's the underside of the soffit. It's exposed soffit. This beadboard's up there. It's pretty standard for that. They would like to replace the roof here in its entirety and going with a just a GAF product. 9HGZ is just probably a charcoal color. We have it selected here. This is your kind of finish schedule, finish sample they're trying to use. This is an existing house over 815 Bayshore Boulevard. Similar color on the windows. We're not going to touch the brick. We're just probably going to pressure wash it and do a sealer on it to preserve it. Similar roof as well, charcoal color there. The front door, there's currently a transom. It's a 3-light transom that's above the door, and we're going to leave that transom and try and just replace the door. And the transom and the door all together will give it the effect to match the 9-light windows that are there. You can see the transom up here in this picture, hopefully, and that's going to remain. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Up here, Ron. Yep.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron with Historic Preservation. Staff's finding that this application is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines. We reviewed the plans that were uploaded September 16, 2025. We feel that this application is consistent for the reasons. On page 3 of the staff, we have the bullets from the Hyde Park design guidelines, and for guessing that this addition is in the rear and it meets those conditions. The podium that's here that he's adding on to, there's a little setback issue if you look at the site plan that also delineates the primary structure from the addition as well. Moving through the conditions on the staff report, he addressed a few of them this evening, but a little bit more discussion is warranted. He talked about the brick, showed the brick, either the face brick or the true brick would be appropriate. He provided an example. Didn't talk about the stucco pattern. On the second level, there's a stucco pattern that's established there, and maybe to break from what the historic structure has, you do a different stucco pattern to be sympathetic to the historic structure. There is a column on the rear that's holding up the load on the. I think there's some discussion that needs to take place on the column and how it's detailed out. He talked about the walls, and I know that there's Secretary of Interior standards that we have to move forward, that there's a deviation from the historic home to the addition. Although he's incorporating windows, there is a change in the window makeup. All the new windows have vinyl. When you look at it, you'll be able to tell that the window is different from the historic window as well. So that's to tell the differences between the primary structure and what they're requesting today. I believe all the items have been addressed, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no one in the audience, we're going to move on to questions. I'll start on my right.
You stated on your site that, see your site plan back up, please?
Yep.